Hi, Max. Thanks for being with us today.
It's my pleasure.
Yeah, a little story behind 3Doodler. The way we found you guys was on the Kickstarter. I think you're still trying to raise more funds there, even though you don't need it anymore, right? As far as I understand, originally you pledged $30,000. And then you still have 3 days left, right?
Yes, 3 or 4 days left.
Right, but this time I can see the digits right now. You got more than $2,296,000, which is way more than you pledged, right?
Yeah, it's like 6,000 or 7,000% more.
Quite impressive. Tell us a little bit about this first 3D pen. How did you come up with the idea?
So Peter Dillworth, who is my business partner, we both have 3D printers, and we both very much love our 3D printers. And one day he was watching one of his 3D printers go along, and it made a mistake. So it left a little hole. And he was like, oh man, I wish I could just grab it, fill in the hole, and then put it back, and then let it keep printing. He's like, oh, I wish I could do that. Oh wait, I can do that. And so then the next day we took apart one of our 3D printers, and we made the very first 3Doodler, which was this massive, ugly, thing that we've added a little handle onto. We call it the teacup, because it looks like you're holding this crazy teacup as you're drawing away with it. It worked terribly, but it worked. So the seed of the idea was there, and then we went through about 5 generations of prototypes and updates and changes until we got to what we put on Kickstarter.
Right. Why did you choose Kickstarter to go for? I mean, there are other platforms, obviously. Why it was Kickstarter?
So we really like the reputation of Kickstarter. We also wanted very much to form a community around this concept. The idea of creating a place for people to come and already start submitting ideas and comments as we went through the development process, and to also give us an idea of how many units we could actually produce and manufacture. It was all very attractive, and we liked it better than some of the other crowdsourcing sites just because of its reputation, as well as we had a lot of back and forth with Kickstarter, and we liked their back and forth, and some of the restrictions actually ended up helping us significantly.
So how you guys managed to do both, sort of, because you do different stuff, as I understand, right?
Well, I also do invention, and I have my own 3D printer, and I used to work in an R&D facility in Hong Kong, doing manufacturing and production as well as coming up with ideas. So if you've ever heard of Rovio, the wireless IP camera,
okay.
So that was me. Like, I came up with that idea, went through the R&D phases, took it to a factory, produced it with the company that I was working for at the time, and then helped bring it to market. So I've actually launched products before.
Together with RS Media.
Yeah, well, RS Media was another project that was like 2 years beforehand, and then there were about 5 or 6 other projects in between there. So to date, I've launched about 15 products onto the market.
15 products, all right. I always ask my guests about their background. What did you do before, actually, your career? What did you study, your interest before?
Oh, I studied computer science, and I was actually trying to get into the film industry. And I worked for one of the world's worst TV show called She Spies. It was 3 hot girls, all ex-cons. They're not just spies, they're She Spies. So, it was this terrible MGM TV show. But I got to work for them for a while, and that was fun. And then I ended up developing robotic toys for this company, who brought me out to Hong Kong to do that. So, kind of a whirlwind craziness.
Getting back to Kickstarter, was it hard actually to be chosen for the project? Because I mean, the competition is pretty intense. As far as I know, they received from 100 to several hundreds applicants per day.
I mean, it wasn't difficult to be necessarily chosen. We spent about 3 months planning out the Kickstarter campaign, so we put a lot of effort and time into that. So we actually started the registration process at the beginning of those 3 months, and there was back and forth about, selling multiple units, which you're no longer allowed to do on Kickstarter, and things like that. But generally, it was quite a pleasant process. We had quite a lot of fun with our back and forth with them, and they actually helped us out quite a bit on, positioning ourselves and how to do things. So.
Can you explain a little bit about the process, how the pen functions actually? So you take a
Sure.
pen, you try to draw something, and what happens afterwards?
So it can work in 2 dimensions or in 3 dimensions. If you draw with a pen, what it's doing is it's taking in plastic, just this, and then spitting it out into a line, such as this. And the idea is that it hardens that plastic the moment it's coming out. So the plastic itself is actually cool to the touch as it's coming out. And then you can peel it off of the surface that you're doing it on. Or you can lift it up. And when you lift it up, it's cooling the plastic the second it comes out. It's essentially an extruder head from a 3D printer with a cooling system added on top of it, which allows this magic, if you will, to happen. It's a very simple idea, and it's core. It took a lot of futzing to get it just right for purposes of mass production, but generally speaking, we were very excited about all the possibilities that have come out. And we had one very specific focus on it, and we've now discovered that there are just literally thousands more applications that we've never seen coming. So.
I assume the technology, there should be some secret formula in your technology when it comes to, 3Doodler system, the way it works.
I mean, there's a bit of secret technology. I mean, we have a patent on it, and we have a China patent, and so forth and so on, just to protect ourselves as much as possible. And there's tweaking, obviously, but yeah.
Are there other similar projects on the market right now, or you are the only one who do these things?
As far as we know, we're the only ones that are doing a pen type of thing, who are seriously doing it. I mean, there have been people who are attempted to copy on Indiegogo, but they're not particularly being successful. So.
All right. How are you going to price the product? What's going to be the eventual price from your perspective?
So we're hoping to keep as close to the Kickstarter pricing as possible when it comes to retail. We want to have it out at $99 retail US. Obviously, when we get into larger units of mass quantity, it changes equations. So we have to wait until we get finalized factory estimates on larger quantities before I can give a final price. But yeah, it'll hopefully be somewhere around there, around $100 US, 99.
That makes sense. I will buy one then.
That is the idea. I mean, we really want to bring. We really see the 3Doodler as an entry level to 3D printing. For everyone that's always wanted to try 3D printing, but they didn't necessarily want to learn the software, or they didn't want to spend $2,000 on a full-fledged 3D printer, the 3Doodler offers this great entry level experience where you can start to understand the material, you can understand the basic concept of 3D printing by using your hand instead, as well as making some very cool and fun stuff at the same time. So, you get a little bit of the best of both worlds. Obviously, it's not meant for making finalized prototypes, and it's certainly not meant for making high-quality pieces, hence the name 3Doodler. Doodler, meaning like I'm doodling here. Yeah, exactly. So it's nothing, yeah. But it's a very fun thing. It's one of the first items that I've ever worked on this level that I'm not sick of at this point. That I actually still enjoy 3Doodling quite a bit. Even after the Eiffel Tower and everything else that I've done, I still fight to get time to 3Doodle. So.
So where would you like to sell it? Are there any specific targets for the market, like, let's say, grocery stores or computer stores, or you don't really care about these?
We definitely care about these things in the long term, but we're not 100% sure. Obviously, our primary focus right now is on the Kickstarter and on creating those units for the Kickstarter. It gives us some time to focus also on the retailers. We're shooting for Q1 of 2014 for retail, and we're not exactly sure who we're going to partner with yet. but it'll take its shape in time. I don't know if it's going to be like office supply stores or if it's going to be gadget shops or something like that. But we'll find a partner and we'll be partnering with them. Or by partner, I mean we'll be selling through them. So.
When it comes to Kickstarter, right? When someone actually manages to get the money he pledged, he's supposed to spend those money on the things he aimed originally. Like you guys, you mentioned manufacturing, you want to put it into the mass production, but you get it more than 2 million. What you gonna do with all those piles of money now?
Yeah, but each pen still costs the same amount of money to make.
All right.
So there's actually not as much money as people would like to think. So, I mean, we're going to use that money to make the pens. So when you're physically manufacturing something, it costs money and shipping and time and effort. The original $30,000 would have actually covered just the tooling and not even 1,000 pens. So we would have lost money if we'd actually done the initial 30K. We would have lost a bunch more money. But I didn't care. We were very committed to this project, and we were more committed to the idea of producing one of these and having a finalized version. So when it exploded like this, it's great because it means we can hit our MOQs and we can even expand on those, and we can up our scaling and our manufacturing. But at the same time, shipping, taxes, all that stuff takes out of that whole budget. So it's not like we're making millions of dollars. We're making millions of dollars worth of pens is what we're doing.
Still looks quite good. You just mentioned that it took you several months to prepare this video for the Kickstarter.
Not just the video, but the whole Kickstarter itself.
The whole Kickstarter itself. Imagine someone else, he sort of wants to place his project on Kickstarter. What are the basic things he should follow, like the basic rules to actually be chosen and get the money that he targets?
Prepare. I can't emphasize it enough to people. I get a lot of people that are asking on their current Kickstarters how they can make them better, and I'm always like, here are a couple suggestions, but honestly, you needed to be more prepared before you started Kickstart. I viewed several hundred Kickstart videos, as well as projects, before formulating exactly how to chop up the video that we did. We reached out to people in the media that we thought would be interested in our story, and that would find it a compelling story. So people that liked the idea of 3D printing, that we had read articles from in the past, as well as people that we'd met over the years and whatnot. So it really was a hodgepodge of trying to gather people and information together, as well as looking at what's worked in the past and what hasn't worked in the past for similar projects, as well as totally different projects. If you're running a software project on Kickstarter, that's a very different animal than if you're running a hardware project on Kickstarter, or even an art project or a film project. They all have their own flavors to them. So my biggest suggestion is to look at what works and to also look at what doesn't work. Failures are just as useful as successes. If you just look at all the successes, then you're never going to see the pitfalls that led to other people's problems. That's my number one suggestion there. Yeah. Can
you tell us what's going to be the next big thing from the 3D industry? 3D printing, or anything which is 3D actually. What's the next big thing that can come out on the market after the 3Doodler, obviously?
The 3Doodler, man. It's difficult, right? I mean, the 3Doodler is really an entry-level product, so it hits a much more mass grouping. But the next big things are the improvements in filaments, the new materials that are coming out. So there's now a new wood filament. There's also a new nylon filament that works on the pre-existing 3D printers. So I think you're going to see a large explosion in the filament market, in the materials that are being used for 3D printing. That will offer a larger variety of options. Flexible things, living hinges. This kind of stuff is going to come at some point, I think, as well as upping quality and upping the product. And the big machines are going to keep going down in cost as more are being manufactured. I mean, it's still a relatively small market. There's only 30, you can't get an exact number, but there's somewhere between 32,000 and 70,000 3D printers, home personalized 3D printers on the market right now. So it's still a very infant industry in the long run. There's a lot more expansion that can happen there.
But I mean, will they become less expensive sometime soon? Because right now, obviously, you mentioned that there are some people, but it's still not huge.
I mean, they already have been, right? So it's been steadily going down in cost, and the quality has been steadily going up at the same time. There are the visual printers, the printers that are projecting light or using a laser that can do super high quality, which are already in the thousands. And 10 years ago, that would have been $500,000. So it is getting cheaper. I know it's never getting cheap enough, fast enough for everyone who wants one now. But the 3Doodler can subside that need for the year or two in between, whilst we reach that goal of getting it to a lower price point.
Will it reach the same price as the proper scan or printer or the copying machine? So will we actually be able to find it in the store?
At some point, someday in the next 5 years, you will be able to go into a Staples, and in the same way that you purchase a copy machine today at Staples, you'll be able to purchase a 3D printing copier. It may be even integrated into the whole damn thing. It comes with a 3D scanner, and it does a 3D print, and you buy the cartridges of plastic from Staples as well, or whoever, whatever office supply company. At the same time, there are limits to it. 3D printing is an amazing technology, but it's certainly not for everyone. The software limitations as well as the hardware limitations, and if you're making prototypes, 3D printing is amazing. If you're trying to make coffee cups, I think it's less so for a home personal 3D printer. That's when you need to go to something like Shapeways, who can make a nice quality print out of that. There you go. That's my vision of the next 5 years on 3D printing.
That's awesome. Thanks a lot. I always ask the guests about the way they see the education in general, because you mentioned about your background and what you're doing before. In a nutshell, what do you think is going to be the future of education, the orthodox education, big universities or other traditional types of universities? Will they actually survive, or the online education is going to take it out? I know it's not that much about 3Doodler, but more.
No. It's a subject that I'm actually I don't think you're ever going to permanently remove institutions and universities. Having a gathering point where students can get together and share ideas is a very important thing, and the physical presence aspect still has something. Now, not to say that an amazing tool is now the ability to learn online. And I think it opens a lot of doors that would have been closed to people normally. What I don't think is a good method is the for-profit schools, like University of Phoenix and things like that, because I don't believe that they fully capture what is needed to supply a student with information for their task. But I think that a lot of universities are going to kind of supplement and work together with their online aspects as well as with their physical classroom locations. And that we'll find it to be a brighter, better future as a result, because more people will be learning, which is the number one goal of any institution in my mind. So.
Sounds like a bright future.
I hope so.
At the end of our program, we always ask the table tennis set of questions. It's a simple questions with several options as an answers, and you pick up one or all of them if you'd like.
Sure.
Steve Jobs or Bill Gates?
Ooh. Steve Jobs.
Which phone? iPhone, Android, or Microsoft one?
Android.
Tea or coffee?
Tea.
Going to a party or staying home?
Go to a party.
That's a good answer. Which car to drive? BMW or Mercedes?
BMW.
Egg or chicken? What came first?
The egg.
Being married or not being married?
Being married.
Do you believe in God or an atheist?
I will abstain from answering that question.
And the very last questions for those people who watching us right now, thinking about starting their own anything, but may have some doubts. What would be your advice?
Doubts are great. Use your doubts to push yourself forward, but always push yourself forwards and go through the doubts. If you really think you have something, you just need to go for it. Maxwell Bogue from Wobbleworks, the producers of the 3Doodler, 4 into up.